How is Norwich? Do you like it?
Yeah, I actually have been very surprised about the city. I thought it was a farmer side and a countryside with no like a city center and lively streets or restaurants and cafes. But there is actually it's quite nice. It's better than I expected.
Cool.
For
How
sure.
about the team?
The team.
What was your expectation of the team when you were joining?
I don't know if I had so many expectations. I was thinking a lot about my own situation because the transfer window was so long for me. So I didn't really have many expectations on the team. I knew the manager, and then I knew some of the players. So I was thinking more about how they were playing instead of thinking about individual players. So I didn't really think about who was playing my position or who was playing where. It was more the style that I was thinking about, and that I knew the manager from before and the way he was playing, which was also why I wanted to go there.
Yeah, that's really important. One of the things is, like, obviously managers keep changing their teams in football, and you can't choose. This is the thing: you really choose the team based on the manager, because they bring so much culture and so much of their own take to the club that it entirely changes the way things run. Their grip on the way football is run, I think it's insane, and it's really important for people to get. So if you want to think about managers who you really want, or who you work with, or you want to work with, and match your style.
Yeah.
come
Well,
to your
first
mind?
of all, I think it is the wrong way to do it. To have
do
a
you think?
manager that chooses how to play. I think it should be the club that
Culture.
always choose the style of play, and they should have
That's
like
an interesting take.
almost like some ground values and ground principles of this is how we want to play, and then they choose the manager that can
Based on that, man.
based on that. And if he starts to go another direction, then that's a reason for him to not have the job anymore. That's the philosophy I have been through in FC Nordsjælland in Denmark, where the club have their own style, and it's not the manager that chooses the culture or the style of play. He can't just go and say, okay, today I want to play 4-4-2, if that's what he feels like. It's the club that chooses the culture, the values.
I know.
And I think that's also what I fit best into, that I know it's not going to change if there's a new manager. I've tried a few times now with a sacking of a manager, and then the whole style change, and there will be some players that all of a sudden doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a big problem for clubs and also financially, because then you have a new manager that wants new players, and
You have to
after-
change
I
everything.
think Yes,
the
you change- you
long-term
have to
planning
change
for the club, it makes it impossible. But I'm thinking there's a lot of technical, like practical complications. I get what you mean. That's the ideal scenario, but obviously we've been involved in these kind of transfers between managers and clubs trying to get managers on board. It's very rare, unless you're the Real Madrid of the world. It's really rare for you to be able to just pick who you want and who matches. So you really need to see who's available when you need a new manager.
yeah.
And yeah, it just makes it difficult because, like I said, they bring so much impact to the club
Yeah.
that it's almost impossible to not allow them some freedom as well to change the way things. I mean, if you think about most of the clubs are also run by commercial enterprises these days. They're just corporate people, don't know anything about football. But yeah, I get your point.
It is the ideal
Yeah, it's the ideal world.
scenario, and I think maybe where I'm from in Denmark, we have a bit more time to do it, and a bit more patience from the fans as well to build, because it takes time to do it, and it's not as emotional in the decision making like here in England, for example. And I
Everything
understand.
is emotional.
Yeah, and I understand, because it is a business, and there is so much pressure also from the fans. It means so much for everyone here in England, and to have a strategy and build that over time, and to find the right manager and have the next manager in line as well. You also, in the ideal scenario, in 10 or 5 years' time, you have a youth coach that has been through the same and knows everything in the club.
I know. I'm obsessed with that. What you're saying is, in my mind, because I'm really, not on a daily basis, but I really think about it often, how to systemize how football clubs are run. So basically putting systems in place to make sure that is, because I keep making this example and Umberto hates it. I say, it should be run like a factory, and it's like there's not a factory.
Yeah, because I'm more.
I get it, but just in terms of how it comes to my mind,
Yeah.
it should have like rigid process in place to make sure that you have funnels that produce these kind of managers, produce these kind of people. You find the right people, and then you keep the culture intact. Because I get exactly, because I think football needs to be grassroots, needs to be coming organically from the fans, from the local area, the culture and everything. It shouldn't just go everywhere. Look at what's happened to Man United, for instance, right? Like since 10 years now, it's been 10 years now that they've been trying to rebuild the club, and it's going everywhere.
I think
and they're
you
not
also-
getting anywhere.
Emiliano's also been quite lucky, I think, with your journey in terms of like, I don't know if it's luck or you picked the right teams. Because when I look back at your career, like all the teams, they have a purpose and a culture. Obviously, your early days in Denmark, and then you have Brentford. You played at Brentford as well,
Yes.
and then you look at Bournemouth, and then you look at Norwich, a young manager with philosophy, and I think you've been quite lucky to experience all these these cultures as well.
Yeah, and I think I've been lucky, and maybe it's also because
You put yourself in that position,
I fit
yeah.
in these cultures, and especially also in Brentford with Thomas Frank and they had Rasmus Ankersen, the Danish sporting director back then. So there was like a culture change when I came to the club, and it was quite unique to be a part of that journey. That I could feel I came into a changing club.
Yeah.
And that was what we spoke about before, where you could start to see they wanted to go in a direction, but they were not there yet. And it was a bit frustrating in the beginning, because I came from FC Nordsjælland, and everything was aligned, and everyone knew that this is the strategy and the philosophy. But in Brentford, when I came, it was a lot of players were on different, mindsets. Someone wants to play that way, or had a philosophy or mindset and different values. But after a few years, when they had to change the players, and also new coaches came in, Thomas Frank, who was the assistant coach at the time when I came, became the first team head coach, and you started to see the puzzles come together.
Coming together, yeah.
And it was really a good time, and the culture they also have now. You can just see that it's no matter they sell Ivan Toney,
Such
or
a sustainable club, and
they just keep having the core values of players.
He's such an interesting person as well, Thomas Frank. His view on football is really interesting, and that's what I like, because sometimes it's really easy to just assume that football is always going to be like this forever, but then someone comes in and changes the way things are happening in football, and it makes it exciting. Because Brentford was exciting when he came. He was coming up, was the exciting team in Prem. So everybody was looking at what's happening to Brentford. Are they going to stay? What's going to happen to them? And they, with you, obviously you and everybody in the team managed to put it off. It's really pleasing to see.
I want to go back though to yourself a bit more, Emiliano, and I've been really curious to ask you, like, what is this? I mean, I know what it is, but visionary athletes. How did it start, and how did it come together? What is the aim? Because it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, I think maybe it comes from what I have been through myself personally, but also the way I have been educated in FC Nordsjælland and Right to Dream Academy.
Yeah.
To be more than an athlete, to be more than a football player, and have different values outside football, and an identity beyond just being a footballer. Which I think is
really important.
Yeah,
for all the athletes.
Everyone, yeah. And I started to. We had some courses in FC Nordsjælland with the head of marketing that started to hand out book to everyone in the club, and then we have to choose like a topic where we could brand ourselves. So it was like a first team that we had a school sessions next to the training. So and in the beginning, some players were like, "Why do we have to read a book?" And
That's boring.
and do other stuff. But then we start to see what we could benefit from it.
Yeah.
And to build our personal brand and what it means to have a personal brand. It's not just having a big following on social media or to show how cool you are. It's also your personality and your identity beyond what your core values are and what you want to stand for and be known of when you're not playing football anymore. And that's something that I really reflected a lot on, also because I went through a few things in my life. And then I could also see it on other players that didn't have this other identity, how it could really make them feel bad in the bad moments of their life. They got injured or they didn't play in the team and they got really frustrated and they start to go down some
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, rabbit holes of drinking or partying and gambling. And I really thought that must be a lack of some dopamine in some kind of way they didn't get from playing football. So they had to get it from somewhere else. And not knowing yourself enough can maybe drag you out to those.
Be very dangerous.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And that's when I started my own free kick school and branded myself that way. I had a friend that had a clothing line called Visionary, and that's where
because I saw it was originally like clothing.
And I really liked the name.
Yeah,
but I always thought that I wanted to do something with the brand, and clothing for me is cool, but that was not the aim. Was to inspire.
It was not your identity. I guess.
No, exactly. I want to inspire. I want to help people and tell the stories from the people that have been through something and overcome it. So that's what we started to do with the clothing line with Visionary, and then we did some videos and cool stuff with the clothing and some artists, athletes, and then we thought more about how can we help the next generation to have an identity, help them on the way, and it comes a bit along with the personal branding workshops we had in Nordsjælland. So we try to expand that to other athletes and to have this workbook that we went through with some athletes and try to help them and identify their values outside playing football. And I think, it's been a really interesting journey, especially for us in Visionary. I feel like I've grown a lot. I've seen, different stories of athletes, and we're all on different journeys. And especially myself, I've learned a lot about myself in this period, and to also have a knowledge about different areas and not only knowing about how football works. I think it can be quite a big strength in the future.
Because I've seen obviously you've been through like a tough patch, like maybe being free agent for some time, and then dealing with injury. Is Visionary athletes as well, like giving support and empowering maybe athletes on becoming better at dealing with struggles and dealing with issues?
I think definitely it's especially in the tough moments, in the dark moments. That's when you need to have a strong core foundation, and knowing that you don't base your whole enjoyment on are you playing on Saturday or are you winning on Saturday. That it's not too emotional and going up and down every time you.
Not really sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So your happiness is not based on your playing every game and your scoring goals. It's based on how you feel as a person. And sometimes you're not playing opinions of a manager or a sporting director, but you should still be happy of the person you are and the person you are becoming. And that's what visionary basically is. We build this strong character development of the young athletes, that they are more than just the performance.
Have you got any cool stories about it, like specific case of an athlete that just
Yeah, without mentioning any names, I've played
Yeah,
with players that have been in very very tough moments, and in Brentford I had a teammate that, like you said, went down in a rabbit hole of not playing and starting to party a lot, and actually came out, and I think he was in the wrong time, in the wrong moment, with some friends, and the police was there, and there was a knife involved, and he was maybe also a bit unlucky to be in that situation, but I think he went to jail for a period, and came back, and I had a good relationship with him. He was a good player, and came back to play football again. And it was not because it was anything to do with visionary, and we helped him, but I always had a connection to him, and I think he saw what we did, and now he's back playing, and also doing PFA business school, which I'm also involved in with the PFA. So that's a good story from one that maybe went out and was very frustrated with his situation, and everything kind of went down from not playing, and you kind of lose yourself a bit there. But sometimes you have to hit the bottom to get up again, and that's the cases, or what really inspires me to help other players is we don't want them to be bankrupt or lose their career because
there's
of
numerous cases as well.
Yeah.
There was a study, I think it's a while back, but on NFL athletes in America, which they basically found out that 60-70% of NFL athletes go bankrupt within 5 years after retirement, which is insane. 70, they make a lot of money, NFL, and 70% of them don't have anything within 5 years, which is mind-blowing to even think about.
Yeah,
with the kind of money that they make, to think about 60% of them, they go bankrupt is...
all these stats, we use them in our when we do some presentations, and we talk to the kids in the academies. We have had a few workshops with Bournemouth and academy in Norwich, and also we've been to Africa, Brazil to speak, and we always use these stats. There's also another stat with the divorcement for football players. And it's also over 50% of footballers they get divorced after their career.
Because it's such a unique line of work as well. Because at the same time, you usually don't become a footballer because you want that to become your line of work.
No,
you know what I mean? Cause it's because you're good at it, and it's because you're passionate about football.
Obviously, you dream about also earning a lot of money.
100%. But then the time span that you have when you compare it to any other kind of job is very limited, because it's competitive, because it's physical. If you think about any job, you can stay in your comfort zone in a company or your own job or whatever, do what you're doing for 50 years, from 20, like 30 years, from 20 to 50 to 60. So you can be at the same place, but you can, like, as a footballer, it's impossible for you to be an athlete for more than 10, 20 years. And then, so you're bound to, you definitely need that identity that you talked about. So you definitely, there comes a point, and it's inevitable.
It is.
That you have to pick and like put another hat and be like, I'm going to be a coach now. I'm going to be, I don't know, an official now. I'm going to be something else entirely different now. and it's really important for you to be prepped, and nobody prepares you for that.
No.
That's the thing, and that's why I think.
And that's
what you do.
basically you hit the spot on. That is basically what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's still a long journey because it's not everyone that is open for it, and also the football clubs maybe sometimes just want the players to focus on just playing football and don't have any other distractions, which we think is not distractions. It's actually helping the players and
No, 100%. Because it's one of those things. Again, it's really difficult for you to change the mentality of someone who's 35. So it's one of those things that you need to really find the people at the right time, and just basically it's like a mentorship. It's like an education, 100%. So you have to basically bring them. It's like an upbringing, just changing the mentality. Because if you're close to retirement, yeah, you've got more time on your hand, but then again, it's cemented, your mentality and everything about the way you see life, the way you see yourself. So I get your point. It's not an easy thing to navigate as well.
it is
just
not.
be able to target the players at the right age. They've got their parents involved. They've got their background, history, partners, like their personal stories and issues involved as well. And it's football. But it's really, if you get it right, I think it's gonna change the way that athletes. So let's assume that this becomes like a mandatory thing in clubs for them to have these inbuilt, and this is something that FIFA does for a lot of things, for safety, safeguarding for kids and stuff like that. To make it mandatory for clubs or for academies to basically have these things, prepare athletes for their post career, I think it can bring a lot of impact, and the fans don't also. I'm not gonna say they don't care about it, but they're not informed because they're so obsessed with the club. It's like a snapshot for them. So people come and go, but the club stays. So they're laser focused on the current affair of the clubs. They don't even go follow to see what happens to, I don't know, thousands and thousands of people who've played for Brentford or Arsenal or all these teams over the years.
No, it is, and that's the challenge is also for the clubs to see the fans. They are just focused on the performance, and if you're not doing well and you have started another project or foundation, whatever, on the side of you playing football, it will always be the reason for you not performing.
Yeah.
You know, it was the same with Marcus Rashford.
God forbids, someone does something else.
Have his foundations, and he was helping homeless people. He was starting a bookshop in Manchester, I think, as well, a library. And when he was not performing, it was because he was was having his mind
focus on your
somewhere
football.
else. Exactly, and that's the challenge, and I get it because the fans are just there to see football, but it could maybe change over years that the fans also think them more as a player and are also proud of their players having other stuff in their life and helping out in communities, and so they also see that as a big value.
100%. I think, it's quite difficult to navigate that one, but I think we slowly, I don't want to say we're getting there, but I think we're getting closer, when it comes to like education and, clubs, especially the bigger clubs, I feel like, and it comes, I think, from that culture that you mentioned, having these things within the club. But I want to find out, how do you approach as well your daily life or your daily struggles that you might have when it comes to basically the life of someone that's under a lot of pressure every single day, whether it's training, whether it's a game, whether it's public appearance. How do you deal with that pressure, and what would you advise to a younger player?
How do I deal with that? I don't
send us a copy of your work.
I don't really think. I don't.
Or how have you learned dealing with it a bit better?
Well, all these feeling of pressure is probably if you look for it. So I will say, don't look for things that is going on social media or newspapers. comments from fans or whatever, journalists, articles that can be written about you. That's the first thing, but it's very difficult because when you are young, you want to see what's going on and what people are saying about you and what
You get validation from the
yes, and
the
you
attention.
feel the first time you see your name in a headline, it's like, oh wow, I'm
Becoming someone.
on an article. So it is difficult, but I think I quite early on learned that it didn't help me at all to look at the comments, and it could be, even good articles could be turned around, and one thing I said could be misunderstood, and I think also with some education in how I made my interviews probably also helped. So that will probably also say that as an advice to get some understanding of interviews and how you articulate or what words you use, because it can be turned around and that can put extra pressure on you. It's such a big business, football. So you have to just accept that there will be situations where it's not always gonna be going your way, but trying to just enjoy every moment, and even though some things are maybe being turned around or be challenged towards you, then always just embrace it, because you are living your dream, or the life you always wanted to live and go for. So it's a good challenge, and that's how I see it when things are maybe getting a bit tough, and there's a good thing about it.
And I think when you mention enjoying every moment, I think that's the key for many young athletes that maybe are without contract, or trying to find the next club, and you have been in that position recently too. And I've come across numerous footballers recently, and then just asking for help, or maybe like with their head down a bit, feeling a bit down, I've done a trial, they haven't picked me, I'm heading back home, I'm a bit sad, which is fine. Like you should embrace those emotions too, but I think accepting it and enjoy the process of it as a whole, rather than focusing on making it, I think that's the key. Because ultimately, if you work for it, you might potentially make it to where you want, but is enjoying every single day, every single moment, the beautiful part of it, because you're gonna enjoy when you make it. But that's one moment. But from now until you make it, there's a lot of moments that you can miss out on, that are not getting
I think
back.
it's very difficult to reconcile this with the competitive, because it's one of these, you can't become an athlete unless you have some competitiveness inside you. It just should be built in, part of your whole identity. Again, you should be competitive. And when you're competitive, you can't take no for an answer. You can't lose. It's one of those things. I don't think there's a solution for it, because if you don't care, at the same time, I understand. I get your point that you need to enjoy every moment. But sometimes I feel, and I say that as someone who's tried to be an athlete, and I was like, I don't have that competitiveness, because I could see in my own friends, every time we were losing, I was like, yeah, it's just a game. Let's just have fun. But then some people, and those are the people who can actually become athletes, because you need to have that push, need to be upset.
It's life or death.
Yeah, you need to be upset when things don't go your
and
way.
You know what? This
but
actually,
I'm
I'll tell you something.
Like, yeah.
I had a call yesterday with a young player, and he didn't get picked up for the team. He was on a trial, and I had to find this weird balance of telling him, like, try to enjoy it. I know you're going back home. You're sad, but it doesn't stop here. We're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep going, and it's just hard, because you could see, like you mentioned, in the person's eye, in not only the athlete, the person is so competitive that their mind is just set there and wanting to make it. And I think it's a bit of a balance that you have to find. But I think you get to that balance later on And then maybe you can say that you get to that balance later on in your career where you have a full understanding of how things go.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think you have to feel also disappointed and frustrated when it's not going your way. I'm still, if we lose a match, I can't sleep, and it's still it was probably worse, like you say, when you're younger, you don't know in the same way how to control it. But I'm still very angry, very disappointed, and I'm very emotional also when I play.
Yeah, you can tell.
So
there's very few. This is what I always say. There's very few scenes that you can see big guys cry, and football athletes you can tell the pressure. You can tell how emotional, how difficult
What
it
it
is.
means,
Because it's not easy for men to cry. It's universal. Like we don't cry really easily. But then every football final that I've seen, everybody's crying. The winners are crying. The losers are crying. Everybody's crying, and it's just telling.
But the point is to turn it around to motivation when it's not going your way. And when you say a guy is not getting picked for the academy or for the team, you are disappointed in the moment and maybe in a few days. But if you can turn that around and say to yourself, this is gonna be an even better story when I make it. That's probably what I have done the most of my life with things that are going against me, and instead of saying, "Oh man, I'm not gonna make it," I've always thought this is gonna be an even better story, even cooler when I then make it, because I have been through some extra challenge, and it's been like fire, or putting what do you call it, wood on a fire to make it burn even more inside me. So okay, now.
Yeah. Do you visualize as well a lot, and do you manifest things like more, maybe compared to the beginning of your career, or you've always done it? Like, how do you approach it?
I think it's always been a driver in my life that I should make it, and no matter what. Pretty early in my life, I had like a vision of no matter what I'm gonna face, I'm never gonna have an excuse of I didn't make it because of this. So when I got injured, I had the same feeling of this is not, it can't stop me. I'm not gonna be one of the players that are like, I could have been a footballer, but I had a knee
injury. The classic
I've met so many old friends that are saying
they have a broken knee.
Yes, so that
everybody has a broken.
That shouldn't be me. Or other stuff, a bad manager or whatever it can be. So it was always like a driver for me. I don't want to finish and say I had any excuses. So, and I think that can be maybe one of the strongest feeling that you can have inside, that you could have done more. It's the worst feeling in my life, that knowing that I could have done more. It's always been a fire.
Do you think that fire is within a person? Because sometimes I want to believe.
I don't know.
I want to believe I have that fire in other things that I do. Obviously, not as an athlete. But sometimes when I speak to other people, I see there's a massive gap in how other people approach it. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but do you think it's something that you born, or like you educated in the very early stages of your life on how to approach these situations?
Can you put someone on fire?
It's an interesting one, actually. I have had the same feeling like you are explaining, that sometimes I'm looking at another player or young player, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, you just.
Why is the drive that you are a very good player, but you don't? It's like you don't want it enough. And everyone is different, so I think it's very difficult to just say this is the way you should be and this is wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone can go to the top on different parts, and I think that's also what's interesting and fascinating, and in different stories, that there's so many ways. But I think, for the early age, then there is some kind of drive that takes you past the other kids, and that if it comes with education or
upbringing,
I don't know, but what it is. or
No,
just
because
identity, genes.
yeah, you know what though? I was literally I had my my sister visiting me recently in London, and we're so different, even with in the aspect. And in fact, I'm not saying my approach is right and hers is wrong, and we both believe that, like, we're just very different.
Yeah.
But we've been brought up the same, but we're
Yeah.
very different even inside, with the fire that we have inside, the drive that we have on some things, and the approach to things is completely different.
Yeah.
So I find it very fascinating. That's why I asked. But
It's the same with me and my brother. My brother hates football, and he don't understand why it's so funny to have 22 players running around for
after
the
a
same,
ball,
same ball. It's just like give everyone a ball, then
problem solved. Everyone's relaxed.
That thing.
Yeah. So I have always had that argument with my brother, and he doesn't really have the drive for sports at all.
Yeah, I guess it worked
Yeah.
out good for you though. So
Yeah.
No, I keep thinking I think it's not about the genes or the upbringing. It's also about your life experiences and who you want, like how much you want to achieve. I'm not saying that those who don't have that, they don't want to achieve, but some people, it's like for them, they don't care if they're achieving those things or not. They just live the life. But some people just want to go make something happen. So that's the main distinction, in my opinion. And that's why I think mentorship in football is such an important thing. That's why we call them coaches, right? We don't call them. I don't like the term managers, or like it's coach, because it's educational, because you have to think about, it's a people skill. It's not about just fixing stuff. There's no recipe for all the people, that you treat them the same and they all turn out to be the same kind of player and the thing that you want them to be. So it's really important for you to adapt and understand, think about neurodivergentism, think about these things, trying to adapt yourself as a coach or as a mentor or as anything to that player and get the best out of them. And that's what makes it very fascinating for me, because it's really, there's no really an answer to it. It's just about having the knowledge, having the experience, and then being able to apply that to specific cases of players and people who come to your life, and then you want to help them become better players or better post-player people.
Yeah, when you say that reminds me of the best coaches I've had that have been good at applying that and adapting to what players they have and getting the best out of them. And that's probably also why you sometimes see some players, they're like, oh, he was not very good here, and then he's very good with another coach, or he goes to another club, and or the opposite, that he's not struggling with another manager. And I think it is or coach, let's use that word, when you started it is a lot about player management and understanding the different personalities in that case.
have you got any specific name throughout your career, someone that helped you massively in shaping up who you are as an athlete? Is there anyone that
Someone that you think was visionary?
Yeah, I have a few. I think I have a few coaches in my youth team in FC Nordsjælland. René Klock, who was a manager I had when I was very young, and then he moved to FC Nordsjælland, and after a few years he took me with him, and he installed this mindset of always wanting more and get better. He always said, the more you train extra, the shorter the way is to play in the Superliga, which is the best league in Denmark, and that always stuck with me. So I always had to do more than the other players, and I remember also he would take us out to the car park before we played against teams that were from wealthier areas. I'm from a place called Hvidovre in Denmark, where it's seen as maybe a little bit bad educated area, and it's not a lot of wealth. And then when we played against the HK, Hellerup is like a rich area.
The posh.
Yeah,
the
posh
posh
area. Probably Mayfair. If Mayfair had
Chelsea.
Chelsea, yes, exactly. And he said, let's go out to the car park when they arrive with their parents' cars. You know, we were only 10, 12 years old. And we went out there and we saw, you know, Bentley and Mercedes, BMW. And we were like, oh, we can't lose to these. They are getting dropped
I love
off.
this story.
They can't have
off.
that. They can't both have the car and the game.
Exactly. You know, I arrived on my bike that was flat, or I was just walking from my dad's apartment. So I was like, when we're on the pitch, he said, everyone is equal. They are not more than us. We're the same. And that really, you know, just inspired me to always fight and kind of turn something on, or put some firewood on the fire when I was younger.
That's an amazing story, actually. I think it's
And
so
he had
raw
a lot of these stories that
Anecdotes,
triggered us because he understood us, like we said before. He understood where we came from, and there's not just another story
Thinking
that,
about
that came to my mind, where we played FC Copenhagen youth team, and they had another manager that was very loud always on the side, and he always said that when I was playing, I used more time complaining to the referee and was laying on the floor too much. And then he went to our manager, our coach, and said, "Are you playing with Emiliano today?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." Okay, then you're gonna be one man down from the start. And he came to our dressing room and said that. And we were maybe around the same age. He said, "Today we are only gonna play with 10 men." And everyone was like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, the other manager, he thinks that if Emiliano plays, then we are one man less." And I was just like, did he really say that? And you know, it just
Maybe he hasn't actually. He just made up the whole story.
maybe, but that's just genius if he did.
That's genius if he did, yeah.
So that game, I was, you know, just fired up, and it was 3-1 at halftime to us. I scored all 3 goals. They came back to score 3-3 in the second half, and then I scored for 4-3 in the end.
Oh my god!
So I had 4 goals in that game, and my last goal, we didn't have names on our shirt, but I still went in front of their manager and did this, pointed on my.
They
my
definitely
number.
knew who you were at the beginning, so they must know now as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the record, for those who are listening, not seeing the video, Emiliano just did the shirt number thing.
Pointing on the shirt. That was
Pointing on the shirt. It's a classic.
Just the in such a young age to visualize these things was probably what he was very good at, and you know, it really motivated me and was making me dream big, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Is that an
to have
important part of your game as well? Like, not dreaming, obviously now, like, you know, you're a bit more mature. But is dreaming like I said, visualizing things and, you know, manifesting them and, you know, thinking big, is that something that helps you to this day?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're young, you have to dream big that you can make it, because if you don't think or see yourself there before it happens, I think it's very difficult to get there. I still use it, but maybe in a bit more structured way, visualizing different patterns in the game. So when I go to the game, I have already been there. I've already been in the situations on the pitch and know where we can overload on the side of the pitch of the opponents, or exploit the spaces. And I think it also comes from the strategy or the style of play we are playing. Then I can also visualize better, and I think that's at the moment also what really fits me well.
Yeah, it's working out
Norwich.
really well, I think. And before we let you go, I want to ask you, where do you see? I mean, it's classic, typical question. Where do you see yourself, both in football and outside of it, within the next few years? I mean, what are your short-term goals and long-term goals?
Yeah, my goal was also this transfer window to find a club that had a good strategy and have a how can you say a bigger vision for the future. And I'm really, really happy to be in Norwich because of I can feel that they have a new strategy of getting young players in, a style of play that I really like, and to have a role in that is probably where I see myself in years to come.
That's great.
So I hope I can stay in Norwich and be that role, because that's really where I enjoy myself and enjoy playing football, and feel appreciated is probably the best feeling for everyone. That
It's
you
the best thing you can get out of your footballing career, to feel to feel appreciated and to feel at home at your club, that you just like, I'm gonna stay here for the foreseeable future and just make something happen, which is
definitely. But I also have dreams of playing in other countries. I'm half Brazilian, so I have always had a dream. I want to play in Brazil and one day, and to really feel the culture. I'm half Brazilian, but I don't feel half Brazilian because I haven't lived there.
Such a different culture as well. The footballing culture is it's insane.
Yeah,
and I really like it. I really like it.
Yeah, I want to experience that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm happy where I am now, and I still have many more years to play.
100%.
I believe
To manifest big stuff.
I'm healthy and I can play like Ronaldo till I'm 40.
Let's go.
So that's I really truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Nice
looking in
one.
phenomenal shape, in good form, so why not? Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you so
joining,
much.
Emiliano.
No, thank you for
It's,
inviting me.
Very nice.
It's been a pleasure. Great chat. It flew by so quick.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.